All right. What's going on? Get my voice is on. All right. You guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Hitting for the Cycle. I'm your host, Ben Kruse, alongside my co-host, Ryan Touhey and David Weightman. Guys, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing all right. Still winter, unfortunately, but at least there's only 6 more weeks. So just patiently counting down the days. But pitchers and catchers are reporting very soon, so I'm excited about that.
What about you, David?
I'm good, just cold and ready for spring.
Well, also really quickly, before we get into the remainder of stuff, it is a big weekend for the Super Bowl. So definitely repping my team, of course, for those that want to know. Ryan and David, really quickly before we get into the show, I want to just get your overall quicks on your predictions for the Super Bowl. As you guys, of course, will not be on the stuff for this weekend.
Oh, we spoke about this off the air before we got on. Many people are picking Seattle to win the Super Bowl, but I'm in the minority. I am picking the Patriots. I think the Patriots are going to reclaim the title. Will be 20-17. I think it's going to be a close, low-scoring game.
What about you, David?
Seattle 20-14. I am not convinced about May's injury being 100% healthy.
Totally
One
fair.
shot will do it.
Well, we will see next week. I'll either be in a very sour mood or I'll be getting myself prepped for another parade. So we will see what happens. But before we get into everything, guys, make sure to follow us down here on the ticker bar below at Hitting for the Cycle. Make sure to subscribe to the Empty the Bench podcast network on YouTube. Follow us across all social media platforms at HFTC, ETB. Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network across social medias at ETB Network. And follow me at Ben Kruse. I still have to get my new thing in, Ben Kruse 90. Ben Kruse 114 is officially gone. Ben Kruse 90. Ryan at R2E97. And follow David at Weightman Stats. Also, of course, make sure to follow us all here on our platforms on youtube.com/ETB Network. Follow us on Empty the Bench Network at ETB Network. Follow Hitting for the Cycle at HFTC, ETB. And, of course, you guys can follow us on all of our platforms. We're going to have a lot of stuff upcoming for this weekend. Of course, the Super Bowl weekend in terms, at least for our network. So make sure to stay tuned at the end of our show, as I'll be breaking down a lot of stuff with our network, what times we're going to be having our stuff. So you guys, of course, are prepared, ready to go. It's going to be an absolute big weekend, not only just for myself, but for the whole entire network. We've been going off for year 3, year 4. So it's been awesome. It's been awesome, at least, to see in terms of what we really have done throughout the football season. I know it's obviously a baseball show, but obviously just in terms of network standpoint. So I'm really excited to see what we can do. And, of course, a bonus would be, of course, to see the Pats with a win, at least for my case. But it'll be a good game. Seattle's a really good team, so we'll see what happens. All right, guys, are you guys ready?
Yep.
All right, so the opening we're going to be talking about is the Tarik Skubal arbitration case update. So, of course, for those people that have not been aware, Tarik Skubal, the ace pitcher, arguably the best pitcher in the game, for the Detroit Tigers, has gone through a lot of stuff in terms of his negotiations. Ryan and I have really been talking about Tarik Skubal, I feel like, for the last 3-4 months. And today or yesterday, at least throughout, the time of this recording, there still has been a lot of stuff in terms of the Tigers. And it's kind of ironic that we're kind of talking about the Tigers because arguably there could be potentially somebody that could have been signed by the Tigers. Hint, hint, we will not talk about who that is. But it could be a potential effect in terms of what happens next to Skubal after what potentially the next move that we're going to talk about is happening. So I'm going to quickly go through some stuff, at least in terms of the latest with Tarik Skubal, and then I'll kind of get your guys' standpoint. So, of course, Tarik Skubal and the Detroit Tigers are going to be having a salary arbitration hearing on Thursday. So, of course, today of this recording, one that has already set an MLB record before they've even stepped into the room. So, Skubal's camp right now is currently filing at a value of $32 million, and the Tigers are putting in a value of $19 million. This, of course, is now coming from Yahoo Sports. They said never before there has been a wider valuation gap on this $13 million margin heading into an arbitration hearing. Once both sides make their cases, which can be continuous, there will be a ruling. Either Skubal will be making $32 million in 2026, or he'll be making $19 million. And the back-to-back Cy Young winner will certainly come out of the room with the better, or worst taste in his mouth, depending on what happens. And then Jeff Passan said in his new article from recently, he said, perhaps the result of Skubal's arbitration hearing expected Thursday will provide some additional clarity. So today's a big day for not only, Skubal, but for the whole entire league, because Skubal's going to be a free agent next year, and there potentially going to be a lockout coming next year. I think most people, at least that have been living under a rock, they have a pretty good idea that unfortunately there's going to be no baseball next year. Of course, we're a shortened season, we'll see what happens. But Ryan, I'll first go to you because, of course, I feel like we've been talking about Skubal for a long period of time, and it just feels like the gap has continuously became more wider and wider as we've been kind of discussing over time. So do you feel like, today, at least the day of this recording, that the Tigers ownership, Scott Harris and company, are going to try to figure out a gap where they can kind of shorten so Skubal can be able to kind of be on terms before the start of the season?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. This whole thing really is playing out like a soap opera to me. I think there could be a chance that they could do that, but I don't think that's going to happen, though, at the end of the day. I think they're going to stay put with what they are willing to offer to pay him for this season. Skubal, like you said, is arguably the best pitcher in the game, back-to-back Cy Young Award winner. But there's just this gap is the largest gap in the history of arbitration since it began in 1974. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So I mean, this is I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be close the gap. If they're going to be willing to close the gap. The Tigers are not a team that's willing to spend a lot of money, and I just think that they're going to stay put with what they have right now. And Skubal, if he ends up, whatever Skubal makes this year, I think he's going next year, and we'll talk, I'm sure, a little bit more about that when we talk about the trade or the moves that were made, especially yesterday, because the Tigers locked up another pitcher. So I think this is kind of the beginning of the end for Tarik Skubal as a Tiger. And the negotiations this year were kind of chilly between him and the Tigers. The two sides, I think, the ugly business side of baseball was really piercing through these negotiations between Skubal and the Tigers. Skubal obviously, wants to make as much money as possible. He's a Boris guy, and he's earned that right, given off his track record and the 2 Cy Young awards. So yeah. If I'm a Tigers fan, I would soak up every last second of Skubal in Detroit this year, because I really don't see him coming back now at this point, given how large the gap is, the fact that there's a lockout next year probably, and the fact that the Tigers made a pretty significant move for their rotation just recently.
And David, what do you think about the latest with Skubal? Because we really haven't gotten at least your point of view yet in terms of these. Ryan and I have really kind of gone into more detail about it, but what's your point of view as of right now? Because right now it just feels like they're kind of at a stalemate, and time will tell in terms of what happens. But what do you think?
I don't see how he loses this arbitration case. You win back-to-back Cy Youngs. Like, the Tigers better even hope that they lose the case. It would just be a weird situation where it's like, okay, we won the case, you get $19 million. the other person that we just picked up is doubling what you get, and he didn't even win a Cy Young. I know he's won a world title, but still, it's a bad situation. The front office for Detroit looks foolish in this whole thing. I think it'll just be a quick 1-year deal. He'll probably get I don't think they're even going to come to what you call middle ground. I think it's just going to be one way or the other. So he'll get his $32 million or $30 million, whatever it is, and then they'll just move on, and then probably by 27 or 28, maybe even by sometime this year, depending on what happens with the Tigers, he won't be there. So.
Yeah. Ryan, we were kind of talking about Skubal, at least like I feel like a broken record now, but last couple of months, and we felt like they'd probably kind of come to terms at least at some point in terms of like this is their guy, this is our franchise of a guy. Like you probably have a little bit of kind of back and forth, but I don't think either of us really expected it to get this bad. And I think, with the signing we're about to talk about with the Tigers, I think now, I saw a lot of people on social media kind of saying is this potentially the end of Skubal in Detroit? Because I feel like they wouldn't have made this move, and I guess we can kind of translate over now because the latest MLB signings that we have, number one is basically the best guy that was out there remainder on the market is officially now gone. We officially, at least 4 free agency guys, basically pretty much all the main guys now are gone. And it reported last night from Jeff Passan, the man, the myth, the legend, that star left-hander Framber Valdez and the Detroit Tigers were in agreement on a 3-year, $115 million contract. Sources told ESPN. Valdez is 32. He got the highest AAV ever for a left-handed pitcher, as the highest for a Latin American pitcher. And there is going to be an opt-out in the contract of the second season. But, heck, he pretty much waited all the way until pitchers and catcher report, which is next week, I'm pretty sure. So he basically, I think, what he pretty much was looking at in terms of the market, and I think Framber did a pretty good job with this, was he kind of looked at a lot of the teams because, let's be real, I think a lot of people were kind of looking at the Framber situation that he had to cross up with whatever the catcher was, Ryan, I don't remember who it was, as kind of like, I don't know if we should kind of take a look at that because maybe that's stuff like off the field. But if you actually look at Framber's numbers, he's still one of the best pitchers in baseball in terms of he has, swing and miss pitches with, of course, his deadly curveball. He produces a ton of ground balls, which I think is a massive reason why I like this fit for the Tigers. And he also has a relationship with former Astros manager A.J. Hitch. So I think this is a really good move for the Tigers, at least in terms of for right now. But I feel like this is kind of this is kind of our backup plan now. If Skubal leaves, I feel like the Skubal Valdez combo we're probably going to get for one season. But what do you guys think about this overall move with Valdez to Detroit? I think with this overall move, I think that this puts the Tigers, at least in my book, as the AL Central front-running favorites for the season.
Well, I had the general idea that he was going to be going to a Central Division team. I had Valdez going. I had him going to the Reds, so I kind of had an inkling that he was going to be going to a Central Division team, like I mentioned. So I'm not totally surprised that that's the location where he went. In terms of him going to the Tigers, it certainly improves the Tigers' rotation, which was pretty thin behind Skubal, so it gives the Tigers a pretty solid number 2. I can't imagine Skubal is completely thrilled about this, though, from a business standpoint. And as soon as this move was made, I was thinking to myself, Skubal is so gone next year. There's no way he's coming back. So, yeah, look, Valdez, I think, is one of the most overlooked pitchers in baseball. He gets lost in the shadow of a lot of other pitchers. I think he's got nasty stuff. And he's pitching in a much more pitcher-friendly ballpark than he was in Comerica Park. So I think that's really going to help his numbers out even more. I think he can finish with a sub-3 ERA. I think it's a good move for the Tigers, but I also think they kind of pissed off their ace just a little bit more by making that move. And it's kind of, I mean, like you said, I think it's really going to be just a one year scenario where Valdez and Skubal will team up in that Detroit rotation. But with this move, I think that definitely makes the Tigers that much more of a threat to win the Central Division. And we'll see how it goes. But overall, from a team perspective, it helps the Tigers out, surely. From a business standpoint, it definitely hurts them a little bit, though.
Do you want to know really quickly before you go to David? With Framber, and you're talking about Ryan in terms of how he's still an effective pitcher. Since 2021, Framber has had over 10 wins in the last 4 seasons, with this team. So the Tigers are going to have the top 2 of Tarik Skubal and Framber Valdez, basically 2 guys that have 10-plus wins in terms of the last couple of years, in terms of just overall quality of stuff. And then, of course, you have guys behind him, like a guy like Casey Mize, who is an extremely good pitcher. Jack Flaherty, I think, is going to be pretty solid, 3, number 4, for their team. So I think that it's going to be a very, very good move for them. It kind of takes away a lot of the pressure from the other guys, like you mentioned, right? They really didn't have a lot of insurance behind Skubal the last couple of years. But with this overall type of move, he's going into a more of a pitcher-friendly type of ballpark. Another thing, too, is the infield defense. For a guy that has a lot of ground ball ability in terms of as a pitcher, you need to have some guys that can play some defense. And I feel like the Tigers have that. So I think it's just a really good move for all sides. It's just the matter in terms of, I think this is kind of the end of Tarik Skubal because they did pay a lot. They did pay a lot for this guy, deservedly so. But, that's kind of it. But, Dave, what do you think?
Love the move for Detroit. I thought he was going to Baltimore. Like you said, mid-market thing. There's 2 scenarios I see with this. You have like you said, Ben, there's a 4-man rotation there where it's pretty solid with Skubal, Valdez, Flaherty, Mize. They could have a great staff and take over the AL Central. The other angle they could always do is, let's just say that after the arbitration, Detroit just says, the heck with this, we're going to trade him in spring training, Skubal, because he wants the long-term thing. Say you ship him to the Dodgers. You move Valdez to 1, you grab one of LA's guys, say they trade him there. You could put a solid guy in 2, and you still have a decent rotation there. But if it stays the way it is, I like Detroit this year in terms of the Central. I really don't know if they have any super hard competition at division. I guess I have to look at it. I know it's not the White Sox and Twins. But
yeah, I do think, a team like the Guardians, Ryan and I, every single time we kind of preview the Guardians, they're always that pesky team. So you just it's kind of like a wild card for them.
Yeah.
And then the Royals, the Royals, they're probably going to keep Reagans. They still have some guys. Walker, I think, is a really good guy. Of course, they still have, still Bobby Witt and Salvi. Salvi obviously actually put up some really good stats offensive-wise, and, of course, he's getting up there in age. But I just think, you look at kind of the best 2 guys out there, at least pitching-wise, it's definitely Detroit. And I value pitching a lot when it comes to winning divisions.
Yeah, and Ryan said it best. They really have pissed off Skubal big time with this contract signing. That's why I said even if they win the case, he's still $7 million under Valdez. It's just going to be a weird situation in Detroit going into spring training next week. So,
yeah. We're going to have to see in terms of what happens within probably honestly the weekend. We're probably going to have some news about the Skubal stuff, kind of more into detail, and we'll talk about. Next week, kind of what the latest is, because we'll kind of have a bigger idea picture. Every single week, we kind of have a little more of a domino effect. But so Valdez wasn't the only guy that was out there that went somewhere. Couple other guys, at least from the position side of things. Miguel Andujar, former Yankee, Ryan. You know him very, very well.
He won Rookie of the Year in 18. I don't care.
I don't mind Miguel Andujar. I actually like a ball player.
I honestly did not remember that, Ryan. That pretty much tells you how much I need to know about Vermont and U.S. for Yankee stuff. But good job. But yeah, Miguel Andujar, 1 year, $4 million for the Padres. I will say, for the Padres standpoint, it's a really good guy to have insurance. He's probably a guy you don't want to play every single day, but he gives me kind of Harrison Bader vibes. At least maybe not with as much energy. A guy that you could obviously plug and play if you want to. He's had some pretty good stats recently. His his OPS is the last couple of years against lefties is, I think, pretty much his strong suit. So I feel like the Padres probably need some outfield bat, at least from the right-hand side. I know they still have Mariano, I think. So, I mean, he's still a really good guy to have. But, yeah, I mean, the Padres really haven't made a lot of moves, but I do think this is kind of a move they were probably kind of looking at. This kind of a move where, kind of a guy you could probably bring in. $1 million, $4 million. That's an absolute steal for a guy that could hit lefties. I don't know. Any thoughts from either of you guys about this?
I think it's a little bit of an underrated move. Only for 1 year. And, the Padres, I think it definitely provides them with some depth, like you mentioned. Miggy, he's a violent hitter. He's an aggressive hitter. He hasn't really ever come close to recapturing the magic of his 2018 rookie season. But he can still hit. There's no doubt about it. Defense has always been a little shaky, but he has improved in the outfield a little bit. So, regardless, I think it is. I mean, it's only a 1 year deal. Why not? I mean, it's a nice bench piece to have for the Padres. And yeah, I think it's a good move for them.
David?
I like it. I mean, for a good bench guy, as I said, low risk, high reward. It seems like wherever he played with let me see if I remember correctly, the A's, the Reds, like I forget, he might have played somewhere else. It seems like he has done well in terms of like hitting off the bench, hits home runs. I don't think it's. I think it's a nice move for San Diego.
Yeah, and it's only $4 million, so it's a steal. You're obviously not going to lose much. It could come in and do its thing. Another guy that got moved that was a free agent that I really wanted the Red Sox to get, but we decided to get somebody else who he knows very, very well. Help me to God. Eugenio Suarez, Gino, my guy Gino. I really wanted to be a Red Sox, but that did not happen. He is going back home to a place that he knows very, very well. Ryan was talking about the Reds with Valdez. Well, the Reds got Eugenio Suarez back on a 1 year, $15 million deal. It includes a mutual option for 2027. So basically, the Reds pretty much have it for 2 years, especially, of course, with potential impending lockout. And, the Reds obviously weren't going to spend much. And of course, they were trying to get Schwarber, for ticket sales. That obviously didn't happen. So, I guess Eugenio Suarez is a good backup to have, former guy to have, and bring some ticket sales, I guess, back there. He's been a fan favorite no matter where he's gone. Of course, Seattle, of course, loves him, last couple years. And then, of course, his first half with the Diamondbacks, he put up monster stats. So for the Reds, they brought a former guy back for only 1 year, $15 million. I think it's another good move. David, I'll go first for you.
It's a fan favorite. I get that. Hits home runs, gets some RBIs. I get that. I'm not a fan of his at all. Again, strikes out way too much. Can't hit for average to save his life. I guess they're hoping he hits 35, 40 homers in that bandbox in Cincinnati. I mean, seems like a lot of the baseball experts, what you want to call it, were surprised he didn't get like more money, more of a multi-year deal. I'm like, this is a guy who's gonna, for the rest of his career, is gonna be a 1 year guy. He just can't hit. I mean, I think it's been since 2020 he's hit above 250. Every year he bats like 220, 200. I'm not, like I said, Cincy's great move for them. They're happy about it. Great. I wouldn't want him on my team.
Okay. Ryan, what about you?
I'm basically on the same page with Dave. I think Suarez is one of the most overrated baseball players in Major League Baseball. Like Dave said, he's really only good for hitting home runs. I will give him that. And like you said, playing in the bandbox of Cincinnati, I'm sure his power numbers will be in the 40s for the most part, or high 30s. But other than that, he's not really going to hit like a regular baseball player would hit. So he's only good for one thing, home runs. And I can't really stand players like that. They're one-dimensional, and they can only do so much. And but, yes, he is a fan favorite, and they'll definitely get the Reds fans excited regardless to have somebody like him back. But, yeah, when I saw this move, I went, all right, at least the Yankees didn't get him, even though he's a right-handed bat and the Yankees needed some righties. But he's not the kind of player who I would be jumping up and down to have.
Interesting. I'm not a big Eugenio Suarez. I'm not going to be like, his number one fan. But I'm looking at kind of more on a contract standpoint, in which the Reds, I feel like they already have like a lot of guys that hit for contact. I mean, I feel like, Elliott, of course, is an all-around type of guy that can hit for contact. Matt McClain, Spencer Steer. Eugenio Suarez, yeah, he's a home run or nothing type of guy, but there's a lot of guys like that. And I do, of course, understand both of you guys' point of views, but with the Red Sox standpoint, the Red Sox do not have a lot of pop right now. And I think, for him to come in, the guy that I know for a fact is a pull side type of guy, of course, the monster. I think he would have just been a guy that I knew for a fact he could definitely guarantee at least 20 plus homers. And for a 1 year, $15 million deal, I mean, I would have done it. Especially after what the Red Sox did after that. All right. I guess we'll get the Band-Aid off already. The Red Sox we're in an agreement on Isaiah Kiner-Falefa on a 1 year deal. I do not really like this. You guys talk about you don't like Eugenio Suarez. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, we essentially were going from Pete Alonso, Kyle Schwarber talks, and then, of course, the bare minimum of getting Alex Bregman back. All that didn't happen, and we land on Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. So reports are apparently that we're not done yet, and I guess Isaiah Kiner-Falefa maybe could be potentially a guy off the bench, which I'd be fine with if that's the case. I don't know if this, of course, is the move that's going to be. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. This guy does not produce any power. We still need a guy with some right-handed power. A guy like Isaac Paredes, I've really wanted for a while. Or, if Ketel Marte gets back there on the market, this better be a bench move or I am going to lose my shit. I am going to lose my mind. If I have to see Isaiah Kiner-Falefa being on the second baseman for the Boston Red Sox, I understand that the Red Sox are trying to do well with infield defense and running deep. I don't care. I need some guys. You're telling me that Romy Gonzalez is not a better option than Isaiah Kiner-Falefa? You're telling me that I even put David Hamilton out there because I know for a fact at least he can move, he can steal. I'm going to see a lot of ground balls from this guy. Rod, I'll first go to you. Was Isaiah Kiner-Falefa? I can't even say. Go ahead. Go.
Man, poor IKF. What did he do to you?
Yeah.
This guy. Whether when he goes to a big market team like the Yankees or the Blue Jays or the Red Sox, he becomes public enemy number one. It seems like Yankee fans couldn't stand him because he struggled at shortstop. Blue Jay fans wanted to go after him for his base running in the final game of the World Series, and now Red Sox fans, I just think, are just disappointed that they just didn't get a more better all around baseball player than IKF, but. Yeah, IKF is a weird dude. He's a weird baseball player. I mean, he doesn't really strike out all that much. He actually puts the ball in play, but he really doesn't have any power whatsoever, like you mentioned. But, I mean, maybe he can use the Green Monster a little bit to his advantage. Maybe he can hit a couple more doubles there than he would in most cases. Defense has always been shoddy, no matter where he goes. But, we'll see. It's only a 1 year deal, right?
It's only a 1 year deal.
Only 1 year deal.
They said that they're going to bring I'm pretty much reacting it kind of based off of that. This is pretty much the move. You could look at it maybe next week, and if the Red Sox got Paredes and Ketel Marte, be like, all right, IK off the bench. The guy that makes contact. I'm fine with it. Right now, it's like, come on.
I understand the frustration, but IKF does have some upside. I think. I mean,
yeah, I'm not making him out to see the worst player, but it's just from what we had expectations wise, it's like seriously.
It's decent depth. It's a decent depth piece to have, if you ask me. It's not the greatest, obviously, but it's not bad if you ask me either. And it's only 1 year deal. It's only a 1 year deal.
He's a good guy, I think. I was seeing some of his highlights last night just for joke. He does put the ball in play with guys on base, which I do value a lot. He did when he was a Yankee run. I felt like there was a lot of times that I know a lot of people, Yankee fans, want to criticize, but he did put the ball in play. And of course, I think that is one thing that I do like, especially if it's at the bottom of the lineup. So I'm fine with that. But there's just not a lot of power, at least that screams to me that. I even told my dad about this, and he's like, whatever. But David, I'll go to you. What do you think about this?
Ryan said it best. It's a depth move. Backup shortstop, probably. I mean, that's what I'm assuming is, and it's also a friendly contract. I mean, I'm looking at $6 million. So I mean, you're not breaking the budget in terms of salary cap and stuff. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. I mean, like you said, maybe there's gonna be another move or figure it all out. But
that has to be.
that's what's gonna move it.
I'm crossing my fingers. By next week, we'll definitely hear something else of another guy coming in. But Paredes is my dream guy at this point.
Right.
I really like Paredes. I know for a fact he's going to hit homers, and he'll be a Yankee killer, at least in my book, if he did come. So, Brian, I know obviously I don't know how you feel about Paredes, but
I really don't feel much. I haven't really seen him enough, honestly. Even when he was in Tampa, I haven't seen enough from him, to be honest, so far.
I think he would rake at Fenway, but we will see. But yeah, I could have some Red Sox, sadly. And then Carlos Santana is going to the Diamondbacks.
Yes.
Okay. That's all right. Felt like it was either going to be him or Paul Goldschmidt, a reuniting with Paul Goldschmidt. And then we got a trade in which this is honestly my favorite move of the whole recent transaction, and that is that the Seattle Mariners. Man, the Mariners are going to be fun this year. They got Brendan Donovan, second baseman from the Cardinals, of course, a guy that was rumored to be on the move for a lot of the offseason. The Cardinals got man, you talk about a couple guys, some prospects that have some interesting names. Juran Gello, I don't even know the last name. I can't even pronounce this last name. And if I pronounce it, I feel like I'm going to really screw this up. The next guy is Ty Pete, Colton Ledbetter, and 2 competitive balance round B picks. And the Rays got Ben Williamson as part of the other part of the deal. Ryan, I'll first go to you. I feel like the Mariners, Brendan Donovan is a straight contact guy. So we talk about contact, but a really good great. He's just an all-around baseball player, a guy that you just really want to have in your clubhouse. And, the Mariners obviously have guys at the top. Of course, they brought back Josh Naylor, of course, J. Rod, Cal Raleigh. This is going to be somebody I think that the Mariners fans are really, really going to love.
Yeah, I've always liked Brendan Donovan. I think he's a solid ball player. Yeah. The Cardinals, in return, they got Seattle's number 7 prospect. That was I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. The Cardinals got the Mariners' 7th number 7 prospect. The Mariners' number 11 prospect. The Rays' number 24 prospect. And they also got a couple of round B picks, number 68 overall from Seattle and number 72 overall from Tampa. So, the Cardinals, obviously, we mentioned this a couple of episodes ago, they're in rebuild mode. A lot of their recent rookies have kind of fizzled out or failed, such as Jordan Walker. He really has never lived up to the hype, unfortunately, for them. So the Cardinals are trying to restock on some youth to hopefully make an impact on that team relatively soon. But for the Mariners, they get Brendan Donovan, and like I said, I always liked Donovan. I think he's a solid ball player. In all likelihood, he'll be playing as second base alongside with J.P. Crawford at shortstop. Mm-hmm. The Mariners, I think they are the best team in the AL West going into 2026. I think they're the team to beat in that division for the most part. And the Rays, they got Ben Williamson, a third baseman from the Mariners. I really don't know much about him, to be honest with you.
He's okay. He's kind of a role guy. Kind of plug and play.
Sounds like a guy who fits on the Rays.
He's gonna be a killer for us around just one.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I think it's a nice move for the Mariners. They got a contact guy in Donovan. Mariners have always kind of struggled with strikeouts in the past. So I think adding a little more balance to that lineup, I definitely think it helps them out. And Donovan, I think, is a solid fielder too. So, overall, I think it's kind of a win-win scenario for everybody. I mean, the Mariners did have to give up a lot to get him, so that's the only downside to it. But I think it's a good deal for Seattle, and I think the Cardinals get a good amount of prospects in return, and the Rays even get somebody.
What about you, David? What do you think?
Man, I love this move for Seattle. I love it. He's a 280 lifetime hitter. He is a perfect fit for the leadoff or number 2 hitter for Seattle. I mean, this is the guy you wanted all those years. Like, or you've been waiting for, because Ryan said best, they're not a big overall hitting team, and now you got a guy who fits in perfectly, and you could just pop him in and bang lead off for a second, depending on how they figured it all out. In regards to the Cardinals, I went on their website. I had to look at their 40-man roster to see how many guys do I know now on their team. I came up with 10. Like, literally, it's like Dustin May, Walker, Mason Wynn. There was I said Dave Roy. I mean, I honestly think they'll be lucky they win 60 games this year. I mean, it's really that bad in St. Louis.
Well,
and
it's funny you mentioned that, David, because Ryan and I predicted last year, at least, was it the Pekka, Ryan, that they predicted?
Yeah, Dakota.
Like the season.
Dakota.
Thank you. And I predicted can I predict the Cardinals to go in last?
You predicted the Cardinals to go in last. I predicted that they would have a respectable season just because of the reputation of the Cardinal organization.
I feel like I did.
That was the only reason why I picked them to do a little better than they were expected to. But you did predict them last.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have like Lars. Lars is the other guy. Lars Newbar. I forgot how you say his last
feel like
name,
this year
they don't have anybody. Yeah. It's literally like the movie Major League, the beginning part of Major League, where they look at their roster and they go, "Who are these guys?" It has literally become that way with that organization. It's just I never thought I would see in all those years.
Oh,
nope, he just stepped away for a bit. But Ryan, it's amazing to me. The Cardinals, like 2-3 years ago, they were in the wild card, and how they have just hit rock bottom. And they just said, "We're just going to knock it down all the way to the basement."
Yeah, it's a shame. It really is. And we apologize, everybody. Ben's having some technical difficulties on his end, but he should be hopping back on relatively shortly. But yeah, the Cardinals, have always been, perennial contender in the National League. They've always been regarded in the high class of the National League. And now to see them like this, I mean, it's literally like ripping the flesh off somebody, and now they're just a skeleton. That's really what this is at this point. Like, I agree with you 100%. It's kind of ugly, and I can't imagine many Cardinal fans are going to be showing up to support them this year. This going into this season, I wouldn't be surprised if this Cardinal team it threatens to be one of the worst, if not the worst, Cardinal team in the history of the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this year going in before all these trades, the Rockies were going to be the worst team in the NL. That's done. I think it's St. Louis. Let's say like Dustin May might be their 1 or 2 this year, and he's coming off major arm surgery, or he's had a history of it. So, yeah, it's bad times in St. Louis, real bad times.
Sorry, guys, I was dealing with some technical difficulties, so thank you for that. Okay, so we're gonna get on to the next thing at our show, and that is that 0 MLB teams are leaving FanDuel Sports. And for those that are kind of curious in terms of what in the world am I talking about, so basically, let me get into really quickly the article before we continue. So let me just try to find this here. Okay, so this is from the New York Times, from Evan Drellick. So with spring training about to begin, which of course is next week. I did not mention that, but spring training is next week, and I'm very excited to at least see some baseball be playing on my screen. Just hopefully that the Patriots win the Super Bowl by then. We will see if that's the case. But he said that with spring training about to begin, Major League Baseball could end up with a full break from Main Street Sports Group, a cash-strapped TV partner that became the offseason poised to televise 9 clubs in 2026. Nearly a third of them would be teams. Main Street, which operates regional sports channels throughout the U.S. that are branded as FanDuel Sports Network, has thus far been fruitless in a search for a buyer and needs to stay afloat. The broadcaster carries 13 basketball teams and 7 hockey teams as well. FanDuel Sports Network is continuing to broadcast NBA and NHL games, and we appreciate the league's engagements and ongoing discussions on our go-forward plans, Main Street said in a statement. And we appreciate the relationships we have had with these MLB partners and fans over the years. So 6 baseball clubs that were partnered with Main Street last year: the Cincinnati Reds, the Kansas City Royals, the Miami Marlins, the Milwaukee Brewers, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Tampa Bay Rays were announced this was from this Monday, that they will let MLB itself oversee production and distribution of their telecast. Senior Vice President of Business Operations from the Cardinals, Anouk Carenti, sorry if I got that wrong. He said, our top priority is making sure that Cardinals fans can watch their team as easily as possible. It looks like, the Tigers or another team are likely to head as well. So there's a lot to this. And now it's gone down to 0 in terms of FanDuel sports teams, at least with their partners. So Ryan, I'll first go to you. I really kind of need to just kind of see more stuff about this, but what I can kind of gather is there's a lot of teams, that have had, networks. I know, of course, Bally Sports, FanDuel Sports, a lot of these type of, TV deals. And of course, a lot of these TV deals now are partnered with betting sites. And, obviously there's a couple teams that are in that specific thing. I mean, we've talked about this, Ryan, at a premium last year in terms of a lot of the, TV stuff in terms of how that and other non-streaming sites, of course, are kind of, making headways. But what do you think? That 0 MLB teams now are part of this situation.
It's kind of a convoluting subject a little bit to talk about because I feel like there's just a lot of details that might be going over my head and I might not comprehend it completely. But if there's FanDuel, and obviously they've partnered up with like a good amount of baseball teams broadcasting their games throughout the course of I don't know how many years at this point. But I think at the end of the day, it's kind of a new direction for a lot of these teams, and maybe how their games are broadcasted is beneficial for not only them but for their fans. I'm not sure exactly because the team that I follow has their own sports network, has their own channel, the S Network. So I don't know. I don't really think too much about this because honestly, I only comprehend maybe like 50% at most of what is actually going on here. I'm not too interested in like TV rights deals or anything like that. It is a little convoluting for me. But I'm looking at an article from the New York Times. This is coming from, I just want to see this right here, or The Athletic. This is from Evan Drellich and Katie Wu of The Athletic. One of the teams, the Tigers, they're likely headed to MLB, which is a similar scenario to what the Diamondbacks and the Padres were going to deal with. So, if that was the case I wouldn't be happy if that was the case with my team. I don't want to be going through MLB or something like that. I kind of like having my own regional sports network, having my own personalities, and having my own cast and crew take me through the course of a season. I think that's beneficial for everybody, for whatever team you follow. I like having my own personal cast. So, but unfortunately, some teams are just not able to have that luxury. So, we'll see what happens where these teams end up going, where these games end up getting broadcasted live. For me personally, I think every team, if it was possible, obviously everybody's situation is different. But if everybody had their own cast and crew, their own commentators, their own people who are at the studio, dissecting each game, pregame and postgame, I definitely think that would enhance fan interest and give teams more of their own identity per se, rather than just be, Bally Sportsnet, Midwest or whatever you want to call it, just going here and there. I think everybody having their own identity would be really beneficial. So we'll see what happens with this.
What about you, David?
Well, this came out yesterday. We pretty much unloaded on the St. Louis Cardinals. We might as well add this as the cherry on top. So they just signed a new TV deal. They're going to lose $40 million this year.
Oh,
from $60 million to $20 million.
Wow.
That's that. Yeah.
That's
it's unreal. The whole TV thing it's crazy. Like some of these teams, as I said, I just thought, but a couple of years you went from Fox Sports Midwest, then you go to Bally's, they blow up. You go to FanDuel, they're dying off. And now I feel like you're going to have to go to like Cardinals.com to watch like a stream to watch these games. I mean, literally, it's leading into that. And this is one of this situations or topics when the talks happen next year, like salary cap is going to be number one. This is going to be number two because teams like the Yankees, teams like the Dodgers, they got a huge stream of money rolling in. So you're going to have teams like St. Louis, the Pirates, the Diamondbacks. You mentioned all of them where they're going to have to say, how do we get a lot of revenue? Not like we're going to get Dodger money or Yankee money, but do they go to Amazon Prime? Do they go to wherever? I don't know. But, yeah, it's not a good situation.
I really feel bad for the fan bases who are looking at that situation, especially for the older generation of fans who have been following these teams for years, such as the Pirates, because the Pirates have, obviously they're one of the oldest teams in baseball, but they've been poor for a long time, but their fans are still very loyal to them. And, for those who are kind of on the older side of things, like in their 70s or 80s even, if the Pirates were to move, like, Dave mentioned, possibly Amazon Prime or something like that, that sucks for them. I feel terrible for them because I don't know how many people are going to have who have those kinds of subscriptions or even know what they are. Maybe, I don't know.
Or even the worst case scenario, it turns into like the NFL where you need Amazon Prime, Peacock. There's you have like 7 streams, and you're paying all this money to watch your favorite team. Like you said, diehards like the Pirates, or it could be a Cubs fan. Like they get out of that matinee, whatever, I forget what their network is, and it turns into that. And you're like, I just want to watch you turn on TV and watch a game, and you're leading into this. So it's just an ugly situation. But yeah, 40 million overseeing.
Yeah, the Cardinal fans, welcome the High and Bloom experience. I tried to warn you very, very early. Not saying that Breslow's doing much better, but Craig Breslow and Cardinal fans, I'm sorry for you. You guys deserve better. All right, next we are going to get into Ron DeSantis. Yes, I'm not a fan of this guy, but he did have some stuff he wanted to say. He chimed in with the latest of the potential new Rays Stadium. Ryan, I know we have talked. I feel like a lot of the topics today, Ryan and I kind of talked about already, kind of in the past, at least at some point. And this is another one of them. David, of course, if you remember the Tampa Bay Rays and their stadium, Tropicana Field, unfortunately, it got pretty much torn down to the max with the stuff that they had with the hurricane, and of course, all the cables that pretty much were at the top of it pretty much are trying to do everything that they can to kind of hold that thing down. And credits to the people, of course, that wanted to keep that place. I'm not a fan of it. As my cat is trying to come and get into the show. Please go away. I'm sorry. I do love you, but Ron DeSantis and Rob Manfred had a press conference this week. This was on the Rays Stadium. This was actually at Hillsborough College in Tampa. I don't know if you guys know where Hillsborough College is, but it is in Tampa Bay. I know that quite well. And they basically said about the details regarding about how they feel about potentially a new stadium coming into Tampa. Basically, they said some details were revealed at the news conference at the headquarters. DeSantis said he will do what he can, short of using taxpayer money, to build a stadium there. In terms of building a stadium in Tampa, in terms of, I think, where most fans want to, of course, have their where the Rays want to play. And Major League Baseball is committed to keeping a team in Tampa Bay. Manfred said he didn't believe this is the last chance to keep the Rays in the region, but it might be their best chance. He said, I do think we're at a point in history of the club that something needs to get done, in terms of, he said that at the press conference at the college, but I would be hesitant to characterize this as this or never again. I really do believe that there is a great opportunity for this new ownership to come together with local government, the college, and form the kind of partnership that can make the Rays durable and be successful here in the Tampa Bay region. There has been some encouraging discussions. The Rays envision a fixed roof stadium as the anchor for the new project. So it seems like you're going to have probably Tropicana Field outside with maybe a Rays part of it. It feels very Rays-esque. However, with this new project, they are including hotels, retail, restaurants, and bars. So that potentially could be it. Whoopee. I give the Rays a lot of credit for that because I have been to Tropicana Field, and I'll tell you guys this: there is absolutely nothing around that city. It's completely like you're showing up, and I don't even know how to. I don't even know how to envision the overall atmosphere. It's just I feel like you're going into a movie theater baseball atmosphere. I guess it's like you're going into the movies inside. It's like, oh, you're watching baseball. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. But yeah, they've pretty much been talking about this for a while, and they had the CEO in talks, and they're also kind of talking between Tampa Bay and Orlando as this. Actually, interesting enough, DeSantis said this in terms of when they talked about Orlando. He said, Orlando wants this. You don't think Disney would put it in the worldwide of sports? You don't think they would want it by the Orange County Convention Center with Universal and all of that, as DeSantis says that. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? I do think that the Rays need to stay in Tampa. I know, of course, Ryan and I kind of like to make fun of the place that they have down there, and deservedly so. It's an absolute joke. In terms of just for pleasure viewing this stuff, the only reason why I went to that game is because I had to be inside because I had a second-degree sunburn. I legit could not be outside. If I could be outside, I wasn't gonna. I love baseball, but it's just not a great viewing experience at all. It's overpriced in there as well too. The food isn't great. I don't know. It's just not for me. But Ron, I'll go to you because I know we've talked about this. Do you think that with this press conference that there feels like there's probably going to be some sort of agreement down the road of potentially a new ballpark in Tampa?
I feel like there's been talk of a new ballpark for the Tampa Bay Rays for God knows how many years at this point. This has always been a conversation. This happens every year, it seems like, and almost nothing gets done in the end.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's nice that Manfred showed up to maybe help the Rays out. Where was he when they came to the Oakland A's stadium situation? How come he didn't show the same urgency for them that he's showing here with the Rays? I'm curious about that. But, obviously the Trop is an outdated circus tent that the Rays have been playing in for almost 30 years at this point. Obviously they didn't play there last year because of the roof situation with Hurricane Milton ripping it off. So they were forced to play their home games last year at Steinbrenner Field. One way or the other, I don't think the Rays are going to be at the Trop much longer. They'll probably be there for a couple more years because I think their lease agreement there got extended another year because of the hurricane. So I think they're going to be playing an extra year there. In terms of where they go, this ownership group sounds very committed to wanting to keep them in Florida. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like they want to try and move them to Tampa rather than remain in St. Pete. There's been talks about whether or not that's going to happen. There was talk of them a couple of years ago. I remember there was talk about a new stadium proposal that was going to be in St. Petersburg. Mm-hmm. So it's the whole thing. Yeah, I don't know. I take it with a grain of salt until I actually see them start to dig the foundation to a new stadium. I will not give a crap what they say. I've heard this story so many times to the point where it's nauseating and I want to throw up. Do something, for God's sake.
And DeSantis, for those that do know about DeSantis, he does not necessarily be straight true to his word a lot of the times that he talks. So it's more of all talk than anything. Feels like a Red Sox ownership in terms of all talk to and not much. But David, I'll go to you. What do you think about this?
Ryan said it best. This thing's been going on forever. Like, that was the one thing. It was with Tampa and St. Pete alone. It was like, well, it all depends on traffic. And I'm like, for a Rays game, like, you're worried about traffic, whether you have in Tampa or St. Pete. That's new to me. Orlando would be interesting just because they would, there'd be Disney World packages out the wazoo. Like, Yankees, Rays, people from the Bronx come down to Disney World and we'll give you some tickets for a Yankees Rays game.
They'll be selling Mickey Mouse Yankee ears.
Or Red Sox, same thing. The other thing which I noticed too, this will be fun to see possibly if this were to happen, is you would have, and I'm using my hands as an example, you'd have Steinbrenner Field here, you would have where the Buccaneers play, Raymond James Stadium here, and then they say over here would be the new ballpark of the Rays. So traffic, construction would be a lot of fun in that area with that mess.
Have you guys been in that area? If you guys don't mind.
I have.
Yes.
I've been to Steinbrenner Field a handful of times.
So
I went for spring training. What's that?
David, I don't know if you know this. I think I told you this, Ram. And I don't want to kind of go off the rails, but it does stay kind of with this overall kind of area. The Buccaneers, David. I don't know if you've gone to see the Buccaneers that all play, but my brother and I have gone to a couple games there because I have family down to the Tampa area.
Mm-hmm.
Their Uber situation is in the parking lot of the Yankees spring training complex.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
think about that.
Me and my brother went to a Yankees-Phillies spring training game. We probably said, "You got to park at Raymond James." We were fine. They go, "Where do you park?" They said, "That's the grass. That's where you park at."
Yeah.
Yeah, they're parking lot at Raymond James Stadium where we were. I was like, "Oh my God, this is something new." So, yeah. But no, I just figure they got new ownership. I guess Manfred loves this guy all of a sudden. Like you said, with Oakland, I know he kind of like the owner, but I guess he didn't want baseball in Oakland. That's what it comes down to. Here in Tampa, I guess they wanted to keep a Southeastern team market there. So maybe that's his ploy to keep the Rays in Tampa. We'll see.
Yep, we'll see. And you know what also we're going to see is we're going to have our final thoughts. But before we really get into those final thoughts, we got some programming notes for Super Bowl Sunday Takeover that, of course, I would like to make an announcement for. David and Ryan, I know, of course, you guys won't be around this weekend for the programming. Of course, you're more than welcome. Of course, we welcome new guests if you guys like to, but I know you guys are probably going to be busy. But for this overall show, for the people that are watching, we got up to about 100 people, by the way, on the show today. So give a round of applause. That's absolutely awesome. Of course, we continue, of course, every single week to have our viewers to come in and to even comment. You guys are more than welcome to comment and, of course, give you guys overall thoughts in terms of what we talk about throughout the overall show. So tomorrow night, to kick off, we have the Football Forecast Live. I will be there. A bunch of other people will be there to discuss the big game, headlined by Johnny Montalbano. Shout out to Johnny. He's going to be leading that. And then on Saturday, we got Unnecessary Wagers from 4 to 5 p.m., headlined with Nick DiMartino and Leland Barwick. The Gridiron Gridlock from 6 to 8 with Trevor Williams and Christine Wilson. And then, of course, the ETV Lounge from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. with Nick DiMartino, Colin, and John. And then on Super Bowl Sunday, we got the Gridiron Gurus and Zane Zinners. Zane Zinners will be starting, I believe, at 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And then me, Michael Rapolo, and Grant Wismeyer will be going from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to discuss the big game, pretty much everything in the ins and outs. And then Press Row from 4 to 5, you'll have Cal McClurg and Nick Morgeson. And then the Benchmarks audio only, the 11-hour revolution at 6 p.m. with Cal McClurg. And then, of course, I'll be having a post-game show, whether the Patriots win or lose. I'll be having that. So if you guys want to see in terms of if I have sorrows or if I have happiness, you're more than welcome to see that. I'll be having that with Tom Albano on Sunday night, and we might have some more people with that as well. So I did, of course, want to give you guys that really, really quickly. The Super Bowl Sunday Takeover show. We do have a comment here. Tiki is the next OJ. I don't know if that's where that's from. I don't know if that's football related or something like that. But final thoughts, guys. I really kind of gave my overall final thoughts. That's kind of what we're going to be having a really busy weekend. In terms of baseball, we're really excited. Of course, pitchers and catchers should be coming up pretty soon. So probably some stuff to talk about. Ryan, David, Ryan is the big guy when it comes to the doctor on the show. And typically when it comes to pitchers and catchers, we do have a lot of injuries, unfortunately, we, of course, have to give to the overall show. So, Ryan, just be ready for that. I know you, of course, will be ready for that at some point. Cross our fingers that hopefully nothing happens. We, of course, don't wish anybody injuries. But when it comes to the pitchers and, pitchers, of course, unfortunately have to deal with a bunch of crap. So, for a fact, somebody, unfortunately, will probably be down, but we'll see what happens. But we do have a little bit of time here before we conclude the show. David and Ryan, any leftover thoughts?
I'm wondering where Zach Gallen ends up. He's kind of like the only notable free agent pitcher that's still available on the market. At this point, with pitchers and catchers reporting next week, I think at this point, he might as well just re-sign with Arizona on a 1-year deal or something like that. I don't know.
Somewhere like where the Diamondbacks and there's other teams in the area. I've always said the Cubs.
Yeah, them too. But yeah, we'll see. Because he's really the only big name that's still out there now.
All right, dude.
This is when you kind of know maybe Major League Baseball's got some issues. So I just got a tweet on this one or alert. The business affiliate of MLB PA strikes a deal to create AI versions of players so they can interact with fans. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Besides that, I'm just looking forward to this time next week. Pitchers and catchers start. Spring training has arrived. I'll be a happy camper, and hopefully some snow will melt. That's it.
It's true. Yeah, we still have a bunch that we have
It's
to
going to
get
be freezing again this weekend, unfortunately.
That, unfortunately, but they said 40s by next week, hopefully. So we'll see.
We will see. Well, that will do it, guys, for another edition of Opinion for the Cycle. Of course, make sure to follow us on all of our socials, right on the ticker bar down below. We will see you guys next week for another edition of Opinion for the Cycle. Hopefully by then, the New England Patriots will be winning Super Bowl 7. Until then, see you guys next week.